You chose absolutely right tuning into Rwanda Television News tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a great and productive day. Now, this is what is coming up on our edition. President Paul Kagame states that there is need for serious cooperation and collaboration in addressing global issues. Murambi Genocide Memorial in Nyamagabe District, Nyamata Genocide Memorial in Bugesera District, Kigali Genocide Memorial in the city of Kigali, and Bisesero Genocide Memorial in Karongi District are now inscribed on UNESCO's World Heritage List. A great evening to you once again from wherever you are joining us from. Welcome to Rwanda Television News and our news in details. President Paul Kagame states that there is a need for serious cooperation and global collaboration in addressing emerging issues, including the increase of the number of migrants that Rwanda is contributing towards an effective solution to the issue. The remarks were made on Wednesday in the 78th United Nations General Assembly. Prince Manzis starts us off tonight.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome His Excellency Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda.
During his speech on the second day of the general debate, President Kagame demonstrated that as the economy is growing, inequality globally is on rise after the World Health Organization declared an end to COVID-19 as a global health emergency. President Kagame points out that the starting line was not the same globally after the COVID-19 pandemic, hence the slow pace in the implementation of the SDGs, especially for developing countries.
Developing countries are constrained by a debt crisis, including higher costs of borrowing. This is causing economic disparities to widen and slowing down our collective progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. The primary cause of this crisis is high interest rates in developed economies in order to correct for years of quantitative easing. At the same time, developing countries face exaggerated risk premiums for both currency and political risk, which are simply unjustified. We need serious cooperation to address this. In developing countries, we also have a responsibility to be accountable for the quality of our financial governance and the management of our natural resources.
On the issue of climate change that was tabled in the 78th United Nations General Assembly, President Paul Kagame demonstrated that Rwanda supports the Green Climate Fund initiated for creating fiscal space for vulnerable nations to tackle climate change. President Kagame added that African small island developing states, many of which are members of the Commonwealth currently led by Rwanda, want to work with partners and be part of the solution. Here, the head of state pointed out that apart from the climate change, there's an issue of conflicts globally and there is no sign of ending them in sight, adding that it is the basis of the increasing number of migrants which Rwanda is contributing to its effective solution.
Every year, migrants and refugees undertake dangerous journeys in search of a better future. Rwanda remains committed to working with partners, including the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, to contribute to a durable solution. This decision is informed by our experience and knowing firsthand the pain of losing everything and not having a place to call home. That is part of our promise to leave no one behind.
The head of state also emphasized on Rwanda's contribution in peacekeeping missions across Africa, stating that Rwanda's contribution should not subtract what is to be done through multilateral cooperation in solving instabilities effectively, adding that countries with instabilities should be responsible towards having a political stability.
Bilateral interventions to which Rwanda contributes actively in various places, can provide a rapid response to a crisis situation. But to have a lasting effect, the need to pave the way for multilateral engagement and international political progress. No matter the amount of troops deployed, the mindset should be to get results which serve the interests of the people on the ground. Paying lip service to peace and getting lost in process and formalities only serves to confirm the selective attention of some in the international community. We still have a long way to go. Africa urgently needs to be fully represented in bodies where decisions concerning our future are made. Just as urgently, Africa must be fully prepared to speak with one voice.
The President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame, commended the outcomes of collaborating with various partners, including the United Nations and affiliated organizations. The head of state demonstrated that for Rwanda, the source of solidarity comes from Rwandans' commitment to never allowing a repetition of the tragedy that happened nearly 30 years ago, and gratefully commended those that accompanied Rwandans on their journey as they plan to commemorate for the 30th time the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince. Experts on the genocide against the Tutsi have noted that the fact that 4 genocide memorials are now part of UNESCO's World Heritage List is a testament of the value that has been given to more than 1 million victims of the terrible atrocities in human history. The decision to add the memorial sites comes 15 years after it was first proposed, with the objective of showing the world what horrors can result when nothing is done to fight evil.
I've seen that the site has qualified on comparative analysis and is it on protection. And when you look at most of the sites which are referred, in most cases they are sites qualified on a number of aspects. Having said this, we take note as a state party of Zambia of the fact that, you know, the state party was, the proponent of this site, or in this case, the country which submitted this nomination, was one of the pioneer sites in terms of, trying to champion the cause for nominating sites on memory.
The decision has been welcomed by Rwandans. We are very happy as Rwandans, as genocide survivors, part of the organization Ibuka, but also for people all over the world. When the sites were first submitted for consideration to be included on UNESCO's list, the government wanted what happened there to be a lesson for the world on the need to fight genocidal ideologies and such crimes. Now, more people are going to visit the sites, both Rwandan and foreigners, and they are going to learn about what happened and the lessons it left. Indeed, experts agree that genocide memorials are going to be a source of valuable information for those that want to learn. They will be like schools for the world, providing important instruments for learning the importance of human life, starting with the more than 1 million Tutsi that were killed in 3 months. This is another step that will be taken in making known the truth about the genocide against the Tutsi that took place here in Rwanda. The 4 genocide memorials that have been added to the list are Kigali Genocide Memorial Site at Gisozi, the one at Murambi in Nyamagabe District, Bisesero in Karongi, and the one at Nyamata in Bugesera District. Together, they are the final resting place of more than 345,000 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi. President Paul Kagame has noted that a good leadership and security are key to any country's development. The head of state made the remarks during an interview with the weekly news magazine Jeune Afrique. During the interview, His Excellency Paul Kagame was asked if his re-election in April this year to lead the RPF in Inkotanyi means he will also stand in the presidential election here in Rwanda next year. To which the president replied that he is happy that the people of Rwanda have continued to show confidence in his ability to lead them, and said that he will continue to serve them as long as he is able to, and went on to confirm that he will be able to stand for re-election. The head of state was also asked about the claims made by the UN experts in June this year that Rwanda supports the M23 rebel group in eastern DRC, to which he replied that he does not understand what sort of expertise those individuals attribute to themselves, because many of their claims contradict the truth. He also pointed out that the M23 problem is Congo's, not Rwanda's, because the rebels are Congolese nationals. Asked on whether he would be willing to hold talks with DRC's president, his response was to ask whether a leader not willing to talk to his own people would want to speak to him. He also reiterated that the problem is not one that exists between the two heads of state. The president also commented on the Belgium's decision not to accept Vincent Karega as Rwanda's ambassador to that country, saying that the reasons given were baseless, and noting that Rwanda saw that decision to have been the result of the pressure from the government in Kinshasa. He added that Rwanda will not send another ambassador. Asked to comment on the problem of the coup d'etats in African countries, the Rwandan president pointed out that they are the result of long-standing problems that have to do with governance, and stressed that proper security and good governance are key to any country's development. The Central Bank of Rwanda demonstrated that this year the commodity prices may decline or decrease by 5%. This was announced by the Governor of the Central Bank of Rwanda, John Rwangombwa, in the presentation of the Monetary Policy and Financial Stability Statement for the last 6 months of the 2023's first quarter. Adam Squizera with the details.
The commodity price hike and currency depreciation are noted as one of the biggest threats on the domestic economy. The governor of the Central Bank of Rwanda, John Rwangombwa, highlighted some of the key statistics that are expected to make a change in the country's economy, basing on the prospects from the decrease of the global inflation to 6.8% in 2023 and 5.2% in 2024, from where it was last year. This was also highlighted as the possible decrease of the domestic price to 5%.
And this is expected to slow down to 6.8% this year and 5.2% next year, and that is contributing to slowing down of the tightening of the monetary policy conditions across different countries. Sub-Saharan Africa is also reducing the inflation, but though still high at 14%, and it's mainly linked to climate change, food issues in different African countries. And this reduction in inflation is also linked to easing of supply disruption that we had from the COVID time that really had impacted on cost of logistics.
In this presentation, the central bank also demonstrated the resilience of the country's economy, which is at 7.7%, where it was noted that this performance was supported by the service sector, which contributed 11.3%. plus the industry sector that placed 7.5%. However, the central bank shows that even though the agriculture sector lagged behind in the performance since it was at 0.3%, the governor noted that there is a hope in the coming quarters.
Unfortunately, agriculture has really performed poorly for 2 consecutive years now. Last year, we had poor agriculture performance because of bad weather. Same story this year. So far, the first half of this year, we see agriculture growing by 0.3%. In fact, the food items are growing negatively, and that has impacted on inflation, as you see. So generally speaking, good performance, overall performance of our domestic economy, expected to remain strong for the rest of the year, though lower than what we achieved in the last 2 years.
The central bank highlighted the world economic growth that is projected to slow down to 3% in 2023 and 2024 from 3.5% in 2022. whereas sub-Saharan countries' economy is expected to ease to 3.5% within this year and 4.1% in 2024 from the 3.9% in 2022. Adam Squizera, RTV News.
The Rwanda's central bank has established the need and willingness for women financial inclusiveness that is aimed at increasing the number of women accessing different financial services in different institutions. This comes as the gap between men and women accessing financial services stands at as high as 7% rate. Prince Manzi.
The outlined challenges favoring this gap include lack of awareness and understanding the importance of working with financial institutions, struggling of women to acquire collaterals, and lack of special services meeting women's needs. The Deputy Governor of the Rwanda Central Bank, Soraya Hakuziyaremye, elaborates that the established women inclusiveness guidelines will help in curbing these challenges.
Dukangurire ibigo by'imari gushyiraho products cyangwa se
Financial institutions are emphasized to provide services specifically for women and as well as easing the accessibility of gaining collaterals. As instance is the BDF that has the guarantee scheme for women. The emphasis is this program followed up on? Do people understand it? For us to see if the gap can be reduced. We therefore urge financial institutions to do an evaluation on the customer experience. Another thing is to emphasize on having digital services. Personnel in the financial sector and customer experience emphasize that women are to be followed up on even after being given the services.
Many of our institutions have women products, but if you look at the product, there's nothing women about it. It's just, the picture and the name, but the product itself doesn't really have an incentive to attract women. The second thing is really for us to reflect about the fact that one of the issues that women face in access to finance is actually the fact that they cannot afford to have as many trips to the bank or to the MFI as men do because they do additional work at home that takes time. And therefore, if we're able to digitalize or to reduce the number of trips that are required by our institutions, indirectly this will have a disproportionately higher impact or benefit to women than it has to men. And then the third thing that we've discussed also through Women in Finance was how many of us have women who are leading branches? When the women go to the branch, who do they meet? And if we're able, through the MFIs, the insurance, the banking sector, to reflect on some of these issues, I think it would be quite powerful in terms of implementing these guidelines in a very concrete way.
The 2020 FinScope study demonstrated that the financial inclusion for Rwanda's adult population is on a 77% rate, with 81% accessibility by men and women on a 74% rate with a 7% gender gap. When compared to the global scale, the rate is up by 2%, a great gap deduction as in 2010 it was on a 15% rate.
And from this, we put a period to our tonight's edition. On behalf of the entire news production, as well as the technical team, many thanks for being with us on this edition. Up until next time, stay safe and have a great evening.